Hi, I am Arnav. I'm Director of Product at NextBillion.ai. We are a leading location tech company. We provide enterprises with location tools, APIs that help them adopt an AI-first approach while solving all their location and mapping related business issues. And today I'm very excited to have a special guest, Vinayak, amongst us. Today, we are going to talk about a very interesting topic on security and dispatch and how to leverage location tech to enable rapid response field forces. We'll explore the latest trends and technologies that help to respond quickly to security and hyperlocal incidents or emergencies. With that said, I'll just quickly introduce Vinayak. Vinayak is an entrepreneurial product leader with a decade experience of in building and scaling 0 to 1 products and teams. To get things started, I'll let Vinayak talk more about himself and his experience and also give us a view of the business and dynamics of security dispatch.
Sure.
Vinayak.
Thank you for the warm introduction, Arnav, and thank you for having me here. As Arnav mentioned, I have close to over 10 plus years of experience building products in different 0 to 1 companies. I've worked with startups and scale ups and enterprises as well. Started off with a large enterprise HP, where built the India specific product line for their consumer products division. Then moved on to starting up a startup of my own, built a marketplace which was dealing with waste management. Then winded it and moved on to joining an early stage startup called ShopX, where I worked on the end-to-end spaces in the e-commerce domain, right from the consumer facing products to your supply chain and logistics to even your inventory management systems, right? Post that, worked with a growth stage startup. Again, OYO, all of us know. So built the long-term stays product there at OYO for about a couple of years, and then eventually moved back to working with an early stage startup called 56 Secure. So 56 Secure, again, it's security as a service or a subscription platform wherein you can be a business, you can be an individual or any kind of asset owner, and you can subscribe to the service where we provide you with physical, safety offerings, right? Now, what are these? You either get a camera, which is built with our proprietary AI technology, or you get the access to the guard network, or if you take a premium subscription, you get access to both. So that's where I've had a good two-year stay, and I've actually learned about how to use location-based technology to solve user problems, right? So it's been an interesting journey. Besides that, I've been a venture capital scout as well. I scout for cool new tech startups, both for India and US markets. I've worked with Sison Capital and Go Ahead Ventures in my capacity to scout these startups. So that's actually helped me expand my knowledge horizon as well. So yeah, that's a brief about me.
That's amazing, right? Let's start with the first question, right? How do you design for or ensure that incident tracking and response is quick and efficient? I mean, this is a completely different domain and requires super fast response.
What happens in a security system, right? Like, I'll just give a quick context so that the larger audience is able to correlate and understand with us, right? So when we say we provide security, we've launched in a city, say like Bangalore, where we break out into different zones, right? Like where we identify that a particular zone has, say, 1,000 subscribers, a particular zone has 10,000 subscribers. So we create zones in the city. Once the zones are created, what we do is we further break them down into subzones. Now, each subzone is roughly about 1 to 2 square kilometers, again, based on the subscriber density, right? At the end of the day, we are serving the subscribers, so we need to ensure that each one is accessible at a given point in time. Once that is done, what we do is we deploy 2 security guards, or 2 guards as we call them, per subzone. So what happens is at any given point of time, when there are 2 guards, one of them is located in the central point of the subzone, while the other one is patrolling that particular zone, right? So that each of the subscribers at any given point in time, when they open their app, they're able to see that there are guards in their surrounding. And if there's any emergency, they just have to click or tap a button, the guards come in, right? Like that's how we create a network effect of guards on the ground, right? So that at any given point of time, you know that there are guards in your vicinity. You can always reach out to them for any kind of help, or per se, you just need basic assurance that there is somebody taking care of the particular locality, right? That is one way. The second piece is all the guards have a app with them as well. So that gives us the geo coordinates of the guards as well. And we do have our central system which monitors that, per se, if a guard is out of reach for all the subscribers for say about more than 3 minutes, right? Like if the guard is not able to reach them in under 3 minutes, we get an alert and we ensure that we coordinate with the guard and ensure that he is in the devised or the designated subzone.
All right. So one of the interesting things about use case is the SLA, right? Now SLAs are super
Mhm.
critical here. How do you
Correct.
just build for a super fast response? What are the SLAs you guys keep in mind, and how is it different from some other cases, say food delivery, where a 30-minute
Mhm.
SLA might be okay?
In food delivery, per se, you know that it's perishable and it's got a certain time limit for perishables, right? Now, in terms of security, if there is an emergency, our emergencies vary right from somebody having a heart attack to, the emergency being as simple as somebody's pup is lost, their pet, or it can be as simple as somebody, who's feeling unsafe in a particular area, right? Like especially the women subscribers. So each of their emergencies are not graded, but it's classified under as one emergency, and we treat them with the same amount of what do you call importance, right? So in our case, we cannot take 30 minutes to be there, right? If we take that much time, that event would have happened, or um, more damage would have occurred by then. So we act as a first responder, and that's how the whole product is also pitched, right? Here, what we do, we ensure a 2 minute SLA, or sorry, a 3 minute SLA, right? We assure that under 3 minutes, there is a guard at your particular location. Now, how do we achieve it? Whenever a subscriber is onboarded, the subscriber's location is geotagged, right? Now, if you are a home or you are an enterprise, you are always stationary. So your geotags are like almost the same. But in case of individuals, when they're moving out, we do provide them that option as well, that you're moving, you want the guard to come in a location which is your current location. So these are some of the things which we take care during, say, taking care of the SLAs. One research what we did in the US, the 911 takes about 7 to 8 minutes to respond. We started off with under 5 minutes, and now with the help of data science and improving our algorithms, we brought it down to 3 minutes or less, right? How did we do it? Again, we use both the map intelligence coming from our third party providers to also our guards who are there on the ground, right? They are already have our application. We know that how much time it takes from moving from A street to B street. So with that intelligence built in and baked in, we know that we can manage our SLAs under 3 minutes. So anybody clicks on an emergency, immediately the guard network on the ground is informed. The nearest guards get informed, while also the entire guard network is alerted that there's an emergency in this particular zone and subzone. So that if one guard fails to go, the other guard is ready to get dispatched. And just for context, our guards are given, what do you say, e-bikes, right? At 56, we used to give the guards e-bikes to, go to those respective locations. So they're basically not walking, but they're on e-bikes with a speed minimum of 25 to a maximum of 40 kilometers per hour. So this is how we ensure that our SLAs are met in terms of your crucial emergencies, right?
Got it. And I think I have one related question, so maybe we can take that here as well.
Yes.
Uh, it says, what are some of the emerging trends and technologies, that could significantly impact the way rapid response forces operate in the future? So I think you have touched upon some of them. Maybe you want to add anything here, or
Yeah. So one is that there are third-party providers, but also somebody having on-ground knowledge as well helps, wherein you can build your proprietary knowledge base. And then when you marry the two, that's one emerging pattern I see, that you can further optimize, right? Or you're having both intelligences. It's like a reinforcement learning per se, right? There's already an algorithm that's giving you the data, but you're reinforcing with your human touch. So that is one piece which I have come across, which has helped us in rapidly improving. Again, this is an evolving space. We are yet to come across anything that would solve. I think there's a section where we would be working on how do we start off from ground zero, where we know all of the location pieces are already intact, right? So that is something which we are also, or rather, trying to expose ourselves, or rather experience. But yeah, that's still emerging.
Got it. Interesting. Cool. I think there's another interesting topic around the dispatch logics, right? So
Hmm.
maybe if you can touch upon how do you manage the guard dispatch logics? How do you account for availability, any kind of changes on demand, right? So how do you take, and also depending upon different scenarios, how do you change or update your logics there?
Yeah. So as discussed, each zone is divided into subzones, and each subzone has two guards, right? So at any given point of time, the guards work in different shifts. So there is a, a planning that has already taken place in the backend, which ensures that at any given point of time, there is those two guards available. And how do those two guards work? One is located at the center point, while the other guard is patrolling, right? While they are patrolling, again, they are assigned different tasks as well, right? Emergency is just one task, but above and beyond emergencies, there are other simple tasks like you're keeping vigilance in terms of the subscribers' homes. They've requested that we are traveling. Why don't you keep a check around the home and give us timely updates? So those are the kind of other tasks that come in. Apart from that, the guards themselves might need some backup going forward. So for that as well, we need to prepare the emergency. So each of these what you call tasks are broken down into priorities, and that's where we keep a set of guards handy as well. Now that is layer one, right? Just in case something goes wrong, we have a layer two as well, wherein on top of the guards, we have some field executives or field officers as well, who are formally trained in all kinds of security related issues, right? They are also in the loop in case of each of these emergencies or tasks. And they get these timely updates and alerts, which again happens through our central control room, as we call it. From there, we help in assigning duties, responsibilities, and all these work in a first in first out, right? Like wherever we get it first, that's where the guard is, or the field officer is dispatched also to address certain issues where the on field guards cannot. So yeah, overall we've sent, what do you say, we've streamlined the entire dispatch process. First is ensuring availability of the guards in those zones. Any subscriber will have a guard available to them in under 3 minutes. That is the strong SLA we meet for all the emergencies. Besides that, there are secondary tasks which the subscribers request, like I said, keeping a vigilance around their homes or properties. That's where the guards also get dispatched based on availability and the priority of the task. Higher the priority, higher the importance of dispatch. Lower the priority, so there's a time bound. Like to keep vigilance, we keep a time bound between 30 minutes to 2 hours. So within that time, the duty has to be fulfilled. So that frees up a lot of inventory of guards to go and complete those tasks.
And I think a very, very pertinent question here from the audience. I think, how do you mitigate the risks of system failures or, cyber attacks? Because I mean, criticality of, uptimes is really, really important here.
Again, there are multiple places where the system can fail, right? And we've learned over a period of time, and we've actually solved for that. One is when there is an emergency, the guard reaches the place. Now, in some places, the guard is not aware what is the exact location or what is the exact name of the subscriber, right? In those cases, what do? You can't just look around multiple homes. You're losing key time in that particular. You're losing a lot of time during that particular, what do you call, setup, right? So what we
Right.
did to navigate that is we also installed boards at the subscriber's place with a unique number. So this helps the guard to identify and understand, okay, this is the place from where they've gotten the emergency request. So that is one. Second is we've gotten what 256-bit encryption around all our data points, right? And all our data. So it's very difficult to hack in per se, because even in our case, we do a lot of encryption and decryption that happens at receiver and senders, and so that above what do you say, beyond the system and beyond the right logins that have to be used to access the data, you cannot get into the system and hack it, right? So we've done our set of exercises here as well, because since we're dealing with security, there's a lot of sensitivity involved. So these are some of the basics we follow, and we ensure that our security is right up to the mark.
All right, so I think maybe we can talk about constant alerts and updates based on the proximity and geofencing seems quite critical in this case, right?
Mhm.
And maybe you can talk about how do you leverage geofencing and proximity alerts uh, in your case.
Each of our zones are geofenced. What we do is we collect the geo coordinates of the subscribers as well. So we have onboarded one of the subscriber in say a location A. We ensure that we go there, we have the right geo coordinates of the particular place. So in essential, what we do is we create the clusters of these geo coordinates and mark those zones, right? If you're able to visualize that. And then we further break them down into subzones. Say, for example, in a zone there are 1500 geo coordinates that are collected from subscribers. So we know that there are 1500 subscribers. What we do is we further break them down into say 500, 500, 500 clusters and call them as subzones, right? Each of the subzone, we have the guards placed there. The guards have a GPS enabled app on their phones, right? Where they know that they have to use a particular route and go through each of these number of homes within that geofence. So that gives them an idea that how many times the guards have to move around, number one. Number two, the stationary guard knows that how many houses are around him, and if there are any kind of emergencies that come in, the guard knows that he can go and tackle the same. So we've ensured that by leveraging the right geofencing technology, right, we mark or demark different sections of the clusters, like which has higher number of clusters, and where if there is an emergency, how do we deal with it, and some geofences which have fewer subscribers, how do you deal with those, right? So again, that helps in prioritizing, and we get more and more data. We start learning that, okay, which are those clusters are which are prone to certain type of emergencies, right? Like for example, there are geofences which have parks, and those have reported a lot of chain snatching incidents. So we know that that area is prone to that kind of emergencies, and that's how we leverage the geofence, and we even alert the subscribers, right? Like there is certain incidents that are happening in a certain location, and we inform that this location is prone to this kind of crime, so just be aware, right? So that kind of proliferation of information has helped set up a lot. Yeah.
And there's a related audience question also here, so I'll take that. Again,
Mhm.
accuracy in tracking and monitoring can be unreliable at some times because of GPS signals. So how do you account for that?
There are multiple ways we try to account for inaccuracies, right? Firstly, whenever there's an emergency, even our control room is informed about it, right? We ensure calling up the subscriber as well and checking that, what kind of emergency is this, right? Now, there was an emergency where one of the subscriber had a snake in their place, right? Now, this is completely surprising to us as well. So what we had to do was the war room team then scouted or rather sourced information of how to deal with a snake in your um, uh, premise. And as per wildlife rules, you cannot kill a snake. So we had to actually source a contact detail of the local wild forest authorities, and then we shared it with the subscriber and the guard there. They end up calling the what do you say the respective authorities to take care. Now, what the importance of that call is, first is to ensure that the subscriber is really in danger. Second, what kind of danger. Third is where he or she is located, right? That helps us in Worst cases where the GPS fails to identify. That is the first level of fallback. Second level of fallback, like I mentioned previously, there's a board installed with a unique number of the subscriber to identify for the guard, right? Third, if there is no guard that is available to be dispatched, we do have our in-house field officers who then immediately get alerted and they move to the location, right? And with any geofence, there is always, I mean, with any, what do you call it, lat long, there is always a plus minus 20 error that comes in. So what we always do is we always ensure that after the emergency is resolved, there is a feedback given both by the customer and there's a OTP shared by the customer as well to ensure that this particular emergency is resolved. So we try to make it into multiple layers, right? So that not only if the technology fails, we know that there are other riders involved which will ensure that the particular situation is handled.
And very interesting question from Vignesh. Where exactly, and in terms of numbers, how many control rooms are we talking about, and what's the correlation to the response times and the cities, what zones you operate in?
So we have just one central zone which operates 24/7, right? Like there are multiple people working there in shifts who ensure that the particular guards are always in the serviceable areas where the subscribers are located and are strong SLAs, right? In emergency, we have to respond under 3 minutes. So again, we just have one, what do you call, control room.
What's the correlation to the response with the control rooms?
The correlation is like your central unit, right? Wherein it keeps a track not only about uh, the guard movements, but also ensures that at any given point of time, what are the kind of incidents or emergencies that have occurred in different zones as well, so that we know and we are always informed beforehand that the kind of emergencies that have happened in those locations. So it helps in not only tracking the guards and ensuring the guards efficiency, but also educating the guards, the subscribers, and ensuring that the right kind of remedy or solution is provided to the end subscriber.
All right. So maybe now we can probably talk about, how especially in these emergency scenarios, how do you manage to plan the routes for the guards on the go? And how is it sort of different from route planning, say in the case of, delivery or e-commerce?
So a quick context, right? Like in our case, each subzone has two guards. One is at the center location, the other one is patrolling around in that particular subzone. So for the patrolling guard, we use a simple circular algorithm. Again, I'll take a step back and say that it is as good as a traveling salesman problem, right? So you'll always have to optimize for it. What we've realized in the due course is that we cannot go with a brute force algorithm. We have to be more calculated, and each of our subscribers pay a certain amount of money. So we have to be accountable towards that. So first is we use a circular algorithm for the patrolling guards, where they move around in different routes given for that particular place. Then we do have our emergencies as well, wherein just in case a guard is patrolling around, he's moving from a location A to B, and there's a incident that has happened in C. They will deviate from their location. They will go to that particular emergency. They will resolve it, and then they'll again go back into the same what do you call routes what they had to follow. Now, the person who's sitting in the center, if he is closest to the location, then that particular guard is responsible to address that particular emergency. So we work on optimizations where, in this context, it's largely to do with the shortest distance. Uh, the factors that are at play is speed and time. Now, coming to your question around e-commerce, right? In e-commerce, your route optimizations work in a different way, right? There are different parameters there. For example, you might be delivering to a customer with the highest order value. You would want to prioritize that customer because if there is any damage or any kind of returns, that becomes a big hassle or a big load on the returns team, right? Second is you also optimize for the prime or premium subscribers. But in case of security, any emergency is treated on the same priority, right? We don't classify emergencies because that will be too much of a load on the customer also to select the cognitive load that, okay, what kind of emergency is this? Emergency is emergency. So we have to work on a straight algorithm of solving for that emergency in security. Whilst in e-commerce, there are multiple factors at play, right? Right from the order value, right from the number of deliveries that are to be made in that particular day. Apart from that, you'll also have to ensure that the biggest load gets delivered first because it's eating up a lot of fuel for the delivery partner as well. So keeping those in mind, I think there are some similarities because both are solving for the same traveling salesman problem. But in terms of emergency, it's quite high for us because we are solving for emergency, which can be even somebody having a heart attack, or there's a live burglary that's happening, to even smaller pieces, just like somebody wanting to attend them at their gates, right? Like the older people would like assistance with, opening the gate or opening certain doors.
Like see different scenarios or maybe encountered scenarios where you have to reroute that particular route for the guard or
Mhm.
the response field force, or maybe you can also talk about any other case you would have seen in the routing problem itself.
One was in ShopX, right? So ShopX is an e-commerce platform wherein we used to get orders from different retailers placed in different cities and different states. So if I were to take at the last mile of it, right, wherein all the products, say somebody's ordered, there are a bunch of 100 retailers who've ordered from Bangalore. We had to ship all the products to the warehouse in Bangalore first, and then the last mile delivery happens, right? Over there, the algorithm used to be, again, based on who is the most loyal retailer in terms of purchasing, who are the retailers who place the highest orders, who are the retailers currently with the highest order value. So based on these weights, you are able to allocate, okay, which retailer gets the orders first. And when we're talking about FMCG goods, they do have a shelf life, right? So we would ensure that everything gets delivered in the same day. So again, the planning there was based on parameters like loyalty, order value. Besides the order value, what is the type of goods, right? Food goods are still further lower on the shelf life compared to your detergents and soaps, right? So we used to further classify those products. And then that helped us in creating the route maps for the last mile delivery partners. And they used to go ahead and complete it. And again, post delivery, there's always a confirmation that is received that at this particular geolocation, this product was delivered, so that we know that there's no leakages in terms of delivery.
All right, so I think there's one audience question I want to take. So the question is how to enable proactive threat identification and prevention. What are the key technologies and techniques required? I know you touched upon few of them. If you want to add some more, you can.
So in terms of proactive threat identification, our guard network on the ground, right? So like we mentioned, there's a patrolling guard who's already moving around different areas and where the subscriber is located. So what do the guards do? They gather the intelligence for us as well, right? Like I mentioned about the park incident. There are a couple of parks in Bangalore where they're prone to people getting mugged or the phone snatching incidents happening. So that is being broadcasted back to the control room. We verify the same data and we publish it across. So that way we are being proactive in terms of disseminating information to our subscriber group and ensuring that they're alerted as well. That helps in the, what do you say, us piling on data as well, that what are those areas where at a night time we should deploy more guards, right? So that kind of proactive information collection has helped in building out features where in the night we used to have an extra guard deployed in these sensitive spots so that the subscribers also know that there's an extra deployment that has happened from the company.
So I think I've taken most of the audience questions as well. Thanks, Vinayak, for patiently answering our questions and being such a wonderful guest. And thanks everyone for joining. Do share your thoughts if you like this webinar. if you want us to cover any other interesting topics in the future. And do reach out to us and our team. If we can help you in any way with your location, tech, and optimization needs. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.